Shilpi Agarwal, and she's going to talk about the ethical considerations in data collections. Now, Shilpi is a data philanthropist, adjunct faculty at Stanford, MIT 100K launch mentor, and founder of Data Ethics for All, a community that is creating new nonlinear STEM pathways for youth and pledges to help 5 million economically disadvantaged students in the next 5 years with leadership opportunities, free STEM tutoring, mentoring, career guidance, technical career education, and essay reviews for college applications, all at no cost. Data Ethics for All is celebrating ethics first-minded leaders, products, and companies in an AI Diet World Champions career fair and solutions hack, where DIET stands for Data, Diversity, Inclusion, Impact, Ethics, Equity, Teams, and Technology in AI, and invites you to join them in building a better AI world together. I'm going to go ahead and bring Shilpi up on our stage here. Hello, Shilpi. You are on mute, but welcome to the DATAcated show. Really pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Kate. Excited to be here. Hey, everyone.
Hello. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump off the virtual stage. Really happy to have you here, and I'm going to share your slides once I jump off.
Sounds good. Hey, so I want to quickly say hello and thank you to Avery. And Avery, whether we are cool or whether we are nerdy, I think the bottom line is that I love both of your avatars, and be authentic is my takeaway from this. No matter whether you're nerdy or cool, be authentic. And I just saw a movie with my daughter yesterday called The Duff. I don't know if you have seen it. I resonate with Duff. It's the designated ugly fat friend. So I think each of us is somebody's Duffs, and we take it with pride. That's okay. That's who we are. And so there will always be somebody who is more beautiful or, more nerdy, but that's okay. We own it. So, all right. So transparency and trust are the foundations of what I'm going to talk about today. And it's about ethical considerations in data collection. Who here loves data? Guilty as charged. The fact that we are here, I'm speaking at a data conference and you are listening to a DATAcated expo. We are all involved in data, handling data in some form or shape. We are experts at data. We handle data at different stages in the pipeline. Some of us are data researchers, chief data officers, data analysts. We are data storytellers, data visualizers. So we have our own role. We are experts at handling data across the data pipeline. But it all starts with data collection. The entire data journey starts with data collection. So what are some of the ethical considerations of doing it right, collecting data in the most ethical way? Some considerations, right? That's if we keep the ethics at the forefront of whatever we do, then we will hopefully make the world and data and AI a better place than it is today. So I'm going to talk about my presentation on, what are some of the ethical design considerations for data collection. So there are 3 key components to data collection. The first one starts with the purpose. So start with the end goal in mind. What is it that you want to use this data that you're collecting for? Are you going to use it for a presentation? Are you going to use it to analyze trends? Like, what exactly? Is it for a report? Is it for a research paper? And then define the data types you need for that outcome. Whether it's going to be an in-person interview, it's going to be a survey. Are you going to take data from customer data and analyze it? What is it exactly, the data types that you need for that particular outcome that you have in mind? And then the third would be your data collection method. So what is it that you need? How do you need to collect that data based on your final outcome? So reverse engineer your entire process for data collection, starting with the outcome. So what are some of the different data types, right? There can be confidential data type as well as anonymous. So confidential meaning that you are collecting PI information, personal identifiable information on your data subject. That's confidential information. Now, it could be various things. It could be the name, social security number, age, where they live, address, their phone number, something that uniquely identifies them to themselves, like fingerprint. All those are confidential, personally identifiable information. Anonymous information is when you don't have any PI information tied to that. Anonymous can be in different ranges. Like, for example, if you're collecting survey data, it could be a girl. So it could be a person who is 21 years of age. It could be a girl, 21 years of age. Like, you can be very big, broad anonymous, or you can get into granular anonymous. So it could be a person who is at age 21 to 48 living in California, and you still don't have any identifiable information in this, but you're still making it granular to the point that you are able to tell a better story. So you have to think of how detailed the information you need for the output you're looking for. This information can also be at an individual level or an aggregate level. So the individual level also has, it can have identifiable or non-identifiable information, but it's still at an individual level. So you are saying, okay, Shilpi likes coffee, and you may not say Shilpi, but you may say this person living in California, this age, loves dark coffee, or whatever that may be. Versus aggregate, 50% of the people we surveyed or from this chart like black coffee, living in California in this region. So whether you are taking individual data or presenting aggregate data, definitely make sure of what your sources of aggregation are and how authentic those sources are. Sometimes we are so happy to see data, and I'm guilty of that. Like, we are so happy with all the tools that are there for visualization and for analysis, and so many data sources are available, Kaggle and data.gov and Google search, and all these wonderful data sources, that we get lost in the process. We are excited about the data, and we sometimes forget what is it that we are collecting data for, or what is our end goal. So definitely think about those things. And then there comes the data collection, right? So many different forms of data collection, whether it's a questionnaire, whether you're doing a live interview, whether you're just observing your data subject, whether you're doing documents and records, you're doing online tracking of your website visitors. All of these fall under data collection methods. And you need to have clear privacy laws, data privacy laws, to inform your data subjects of what is it that you're doing and how are you going to collect this information, what are you collecting, and how are you going to use that information. So informed consent is one of the backbones of data collection. Like, without that, I don't think any data collection should ever be done or should be made possible. Inform your data subject, very key. Transparent communication between your company and your data subject that leads to an agreement and an informed consent. And it should have three main components. Your data subject should have a free will. Like, they should be able to say, no, I'm not going to give you this information. I don't feel comfortable giving you this information. They should be able to walk away without any consequence. The terms and conditions of your data collection should be front and center, informed very clearly, and not in, like, embedded into a 20-50 page of legal jargon where data subjects don't understand what you're doing, how you're doing it, how long will it be stored, and what you're going to do with it. Are you going to sell my information to a third party? And what are some of the other third party plugins that are running under the hood that are collecting information without me explicitly saying yes to them? So please, those are not ethical ways to collect some data. And then the power to change. So even if somebody gave you an informed consent at some point in their time, give them an option to always opt out and say, no. It could be after 3 months, 6 months, a year, but they should have the option to say, even if they signed up for your newsletter, always have an opt out for them to say, hey, now I don't want to give you my consent to use my data anymore. Some of these examples would be researchers informing participants about the study, and also your cookie policy that I mentioned. And like I said, opt-in, opt out are very important. Some inherent models for cookies in the Europe as well as in America differ in terms of inherently opt-out models and opt-in models. But no matter what model you follow, whether it's for cookie policy, please show it front and center to your visitors that this is a model we are following, and there are options. If you want to opt out of our cookies, besides the essential, there are ways you can say that do not sell my information, or just do necessary cookies only performance cookies and nothing else, no ads, no nothing. So always give them an option. Also, CCPA, definitely the California Consumer Privacy Act definitely gives consumers this right to say, do not sell my personal information. But as an ethical practice, I would say should be anybody who has a website who's collecting any information should have this option of saying that I do not want my personal information to be sold to anybody without my permission, because it's my data, I own it, I should be the one getting any advantage if you're going to make money out of it. So whether you are doing business in California or not, as an ethical practice, it's good to give your data subjects an option to say, do not sell my personal information. Have a clear sunset policy. So doesn't matter if you're collecting data, like for contact tracing, COVID-19 contact tracing apps collected a lot of location data, geolocation data, as well as a lot of other information. And people were okay sharing it because it was not only helping them, but it was for the greater good of the community and the world. And so they were okay with sharing very detailed personal information on where they are going 24/7, but that doesn't mean that we can store that data indefinitely. So please give everyone a clear sunset policy, like this is the amount of time we are going to store this data. Okay, we are going to do it until the pandemic is over, whatever that may be. Give them options. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the CCPA and the GDPR. And so the CCPA obviously offers right to delete personal information to California consumers. But like I said, it's a good practice for everyone to follow that. And then the European Union General gives data subjects right to erasure. It's almost similar, but there are a little bit differences between how the two are applied. And so it's a good practice to follow CCPA and GDPR, not just at the low bar of compliance, but we need to go beyond compliance. And last, I want to talk about one case study. H&M had to pay a $41 million fine because for a GDPR violation. And what they were doing was they were monitoring several hundred workers. When anybody took a vacation, they were forced to return to a conference where they would be asked very detailed questions on, their family, their vacation, their sick leaves, their family concerns, religious views. And to H&M, in their mind, they were doing it to assess performance as well as to make employment decisions. But so this was a clear violation of Article 9 of the GDPR, and it states that do not process personal information, particularly sensitive data on health and beliefs of people unless you have a particular need for it. And so it goes back to my original point, like do not collect more information than what you need. Always think about the end goal before you start collecting your data collection journey. And that brings up to, I know Kate mentioned briefly, Data Ethics for All is hosting AI Diet World, where DIET stands for Data and Diversity, Inclusion, Impact, Ethics, Technology, Ethics and Equity Teams and Technology. And we are trying to build the next generation of artificial intelligence with your help, which would be cognitive and inclusive. And so let's build a better AI diet world together. And we are celebrating ethics first people, products, and companies. And you can go to Data Ethics for All to register. And that's my time. I'm
awesome.
open to questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Shilpi. Amazing presentation. I think a lot of people said that this is very relevant and really a topic that we don't talk about quite enough. We do have our first question here, and the question is web scraping ethical for data collection? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Boy, you're putting me into hot water now. Well, I would think that ethics is something that's personal, and everybody has to draw their own line as to what they consider ethical and what they don't consider ethical. It's like how much truth, how much that is same as what we do on an everyday basis. Same goes with data. So read the laws. Obviously, you have to comply with the laws. But then, like I said, the legal is a very low bar. And for ethics, we have to go way beyond the very low legal bar. And it has to come in an organization top down. It has to come from the leaders. If you're always thinking about, revenue and profits, then ethics gets left behind. So if we are always thinking about ethics first and it's coming from the top of the organization, everyone follows.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. We have a lot of similar questions, so I'll take one from Chandan. The question is, can we leave a crawler in a page that deals with live data and we keep getting the output with each update of the page? I guess the question again is this ethical? There are a lot of is this ethical questions coming in.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you like a recipe of whether this is or this isn't. I think this leaves for your legal team and for your internal teams to decide. Read the laws. It depends on many factors: where you're crawling the data, what are the policies of that website that you're crawling the data from, what tool are you using to crawl that data, how are you storing it, how are you using that data. If you're using it for social good, you're using it for personal benefit, for personal profits. What is the use case? I think the use case is also very important in this case. So that's what I'll say.
I definitely agree. And I'll just take one last question. Since you mentioned GDPR and CCPA, question from Rahendra is, how is GDPR and other regulations that are similar enforced?
Yeah, so I mean, there are many different ways that they are enforcing it. Obviously, we have seen some hefty fines, and bigger companies are obviously at the brunt of it more than the smaller ones are. But we are all expected to, again, I keep going back to this, not only be compliant, go above it, think beyond it, think ethics in design. Like whatever you do, whether you're building a product, you're selling a product, or whether you're selling services, whatever you do, think of ethics at the forefront, think of it by design.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Shilpi, thank you so much for your time today. And guys, go ahead and check out the event. I think it's coming up towards the end of October, right? What's
October
the
20th to 22nd.
Okay, and what was the site again if people want to check that out?
DataEthicsForAll.org.
Awesome. DataEthicsForAll.org. Thank you so much, Shilpi.